This is the talk of the day, and this is not scripted. So I am just going to just have a chat with you. When you think about women this month of March, yes, we are going to have the 8th of March and we are going to celebrate. We are going to get together and we are going to talk about issues that we want to talk about. But there's something fundamental that I want to share with you. And that thing that is fundamental that I want to share with you is your voice. Well, I'm writing a book called Finding Your Voice. And when you're thinking of voice, I just don't want you to think of your vocal cords. I want you to think about your purpose. I want you to think about the meaning of your life. What kind of voice you want to be, what kind of issues you want to talk about. That thing that you think is your vision or your mission in this life. So I want you to think purpose. And I want you to think about all the skills that you have. I want you to think about the gifts that you have. And when you are thinking of all those things, I also want you to go back in history and think of the 600s, think of the 1300s, think of the 1600s, think of the 1800s up until the 19th century and the 20th century. The voices of women have been hidden voices. And it was only late that we have women speaking, we have women occupying spaces that used to be occupied by men. And any time when a group of people are silenced, we don't get to know their stories. In Africa, there's a saying that I know that it's also there in English, but there's a saying that actually shows that if the hunter is telling a story, the story of the hunter is going to look different than the lion's story. And most of the times in Africa, I remember my grandmother telling us about how hunters were brave and all they could do was use their boldness and stand before a lion, and the lion was scared and the lion walked away from them. Up until this day, I believe that if a lion is going to attack you, you need to face it, right? Because those are the stories that I would hear. But maybe now, having seen many videos, many safari videos, I'm like, no, I am not going anywhere close to a lion, even when I am in the national park or in a safari, okay? But those stories glorified the hunter. Those stories did not glorify the lion or the lioness. But we all know that the lioness is a great hunter. And in a pride, the lioness is really a great hunter. And so have been the stories of women. They have not been told. I walked into a class one time and it totally changed my life. First of all, one of my professors, Chris Gallen, because of her personality and friendliness, I went to her trying to schedule some classes, and then she talked to me about the foundational courses in communication. And then I was like, yeah, I think I can take that class. So I decided to take Introduction to Rhetoric. And then I realized that the Introduction to Rhetoric, she was actually teaching the Introduction to Rhetoric. And I was like, this lady is nice, and let me take the class with her. So I took the class with her. And she said, when one of the days in the class, she said, does any one of you know a lady called Aspasia? And I was like, Aspasia? I didn't know that name. Never heard the story. But you know what? Maybe you don't know who that Greek woman is. The only way we get to know this woman is in the eulogies of the men of the time who were great orators, who actually eulogized how much of a writer and speaker she was. The biggest difference between her and us is that she didn't have the platform to speak. But all of you know now, all of you women in every place, in every nation, you know now that we have different platforms to express ourselves. Even in nations where you cannot be given a physical platform, you can have a social media platform. Now, what we do with our social media platforms, we do post things about ourselves, things about beauty, and all those kind of things. And most of the times, they are not things that enrich the narrative about women. So I want to give you a challenge this month. Post about something that is unique about you, your lived experiences, your stories, in your own voice, in your own space. I know most of the times Virginia Woolf's story about women having a room to create. You may not have a physical room like me. I'm using my space right now. It's my workspace that I'm using right now. So I didn't think about this space. I just turned my camera and started talking. Even if you don't have a physical place, even if you don't have a physical room to talk, you can use something to tell your story. Even if you decide to write a post and tell your story on Facebook, tell your story on Twitter, tell your story on different social networks. Let this month be a different month. Let this month be a month where women are telling their stories, where their voices are heard in every place and every space. So this is the challenge that I'm giving you today. Find your voice. Tell your story. It matters. It counts. It is important for us to share our stories. And I will do the same. I will talk about myself as a woman. The identities that we carry, we must talk about them to change the narratives that has been glorifying other things other than us, other than beauty and sexualized bodies. We are women of wisdom, women with strength. Yes, with strength and beauty and sensitivity and love and passion. Let's share those things. Let's share our lived experiences, and let's share our stories and change the narrative about women. Yes, we do have heads that have brains. Yes, we are smart. Yes, we are all that in a bag of chips, okay? We are unique jewels, unique treasures that are inexhaustible treasures. I mean, try to exhaust a woman. There is no way you can exhaust a woman. And for many of you, my uncles, my fathers, my brothers, and who are married, you know there is no way you can exhaust your wife. They are all that and so much more. Our daughters, our nieces are all that and so much more. Let this month be a month where we are for a moment taking the time, yes, to glorify women. And if nobody else is going to tell our stories, ladies, be the one that will tell your story, because your story matters and it counts, and it is a beautiful story, and your lived experiences are uniquely yours, and they give you a voice that is uniquely yours.